Hey everyone, and welcome to the Crankly Speaking podcast with myself, Daryl Impey, and Simon Kessler. I'm live at the Giro. Simon's back in Colorado, and yeah, I mean, what can we say? It's been a hectic week. Been a lot of movement in the GC, but still the GC hasn't taken shape. There's only been a few little cracks here and there, but the cracks have come from some bad luck. Um, Weather in the time trial adversely affected the last 20 riders on the GC in this previous week. Some of the riders losing over a minute. We were a team that was one of the teams that were on the good side of it. It only started to rain for Derek in the last 2 kilometers. I mean, he was still on a great time trial anyway, but you definitely saw that the last 20 guys all lost 45 seconds to over a minute to even a guy like Derek. So, yeah, that kind of put us back in the game. It's been an exciting week for us. We've come from 20th at the start of the week to 5th now. And it hasn't, it just shows you how quickly the GC game can change. It's been an awesome week in the car, and I don't know what you thought this week, Simon, but I think, there's lots of guys that are coming into the frame, and even the GC hasn't really taken its full shape yet.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like such a long race by the time you get to the third week, and the guys are getting beaten down with crashes, and a few guys have been hiding under the radar, like we were talking about. I know your former teammate Simon Yates is right there now in second place. We have Carapaz who's been super aggressive. He's been winning a stage that was impressive to see. Bernal been super active, maybe too active with his team. I know you have some thoughts on that. And then obviously Derek moving up to fifth. That's really exciting for you guys. And we know how strong he was a few years ago in the final week. So that's pretty exciting to see that he has potentially the chance to be on the podium. Obviously these big stages coming up are going to be critical. Roglic, who knows if he's even going to start, right? He's got some issues there, a lot of crashes. He's obviously hurting, lost a minute and a half yesterday. So let's talk a little bit about those guys who are coming up, challenging. Well, first, let's start with Del Toro because, I mean, what a guy, what a racer he is, so young. He's immediately following every move, never misses a split. He's just such a pure bike racer. He looks so good. Can he win the Giro? What do you think?
I think he can win the Giro. Physically, he's probably able to win the Giro. It's also his first uncharted territory for him. Right, leading a Grand Tour. Got to remember every day there's press afterwards. There's the doping controls. Your recovery is impacted by an hour, hour and a half every single stage. And then it doesn't really stop when you get back to the hotel. Then there's still people waiting for you. Your phone's ringing. Is obviously huge for Mexico at the moment. Those are the factors that are going to take its toll on a young kid that's leading a Grand Tour. His biggest threat, I wouldn't say his biggest threat is his teammate Ayuso. I don't think Ayuso's what we've seen is not Ayuso we normally see. He's also had a bit of bad luck, some crashes. Yesterday had a few bike changes on the climb, but missing some splits. Del Toro hasn't missed a beat. Del Toro hasn't missed a split. Whenever there's someone that's attacking, it's actually, you would expect UAE to use their team to bring it back, but it's actually Del Toro reacting immediately. So whether or not that UAE is trying to get a little bit greedy and put more guys in the top 10 or come to the final week with still four cards to play, which they have, that's the interesting part. Normally it's not the maglia rosa that's following these threats like Carapaz, Bernal, but it seems for UAE, either he's the only guy who can follow those kind of attacks and just sits on, or it's UAE's really trying to just come into this final week with a lot of options. So yeah, but we haven't had a stage yet where it's gone, okay, someone's going all in. I mean, Carapaz, that the stage he won was particularly a breakaway day. It was just so close in the end that stage was up for grabs. Then a guy like Carapaz is just so explosive on that kind of finish after a hard day. Takes the opportunity, gains another 30 seconds, and then obviously you see Askren a few days later winning as well. It just shows you how important momentum is to get in a race like this, because it just spurs your teammates on. But yeah, it's I mean, it's unfortunate we lost Ciccone to that crash. What was it, stage 14 into Slovenia there? Yeah, nobody wants to see that happen. It was a big crash in the heat of the moment, close to the end, breakaways, ice screens away. People are thinking of stage wins. Race on at that point. Everybody's going to take advantage of whatever advantage is to be taken. Tiberi was also taken out. Bernal lost some time. I actually don't know if Bernal lost time that day. I think he did, but yeah, maybe not. But the whole thing is like, we still haven't had that action of like, okay, someone is going to obliterate the field, and I think tomorrow we're going to see it. Tomorrow's Tuesday, first mountain stage after a rest day. People can get exposed quite easily. Different people react to the rest day differently. So we'll see. I think tomorrow there's going to be some fireworks. Tomorrow, I think we'll know if Del Toro is going to be able to win this Giro or not. I also think that we'll be seeing who's fighting for the podium. But I also feel that even those guys that are 5th to 10th, where kind of Derek is at the moment, yeah, we're going to see where they're at. Particularly guys just behind Derek, Tiberi, they've all had bad crashes. Roglic had a bad day yesterday. He's had a few crashes. Obviously, those things take their toll on you.
Yeah.
I mean, we're there. Everybody's there to capitalize on what this whole last week has just been like a little bit of small gains for some riders, and some riders just losing a little bit. Apart from Ciccone. Ciccone was the one who lost the biggest time, and then obviously he didn't start the next day.
It could.
Injured. But then you're getting Trek, who has just got this massive momentum in the race. And then you see Carlos Verona is a good friend of mine too, and he was a teammate of mine. And yesterday, seeing him win a Grand Tour stage was cool. I mean, but again, it's Trek, right? It's just Trek.
It's amazing. Why do people love Carlos so much? It seems like there were so many riders from other teams as well, just like so happy to see him win. Why is that?
Well, I think Carlos is just, he's one of the riders in the peloton that actually shows some respect. I think that's pretty much it. Like when I was teammates with Carlos, although he's your teammate, you never saw him doing something that was like, oof. Sometimes you get teammates who they'll fight for the team, do whatever it takes to get to the front. Where, yeah, I think he's just got a bit of respect for everyone. He's a family man. He's got 3 kids. He's, a young family, and he's just the ultimate professional. He does his job. You always see him working hard for the team. He's always there in the death, the moments that are like the death moments for the mountain stage that you need a strong domestic, and he's there. And even me as riding with Carlos, probably 2 or 3 of my victories that I got, like in Catalonia and Dauphiné, and Carlos was an integral part of that team. I remember Dauphiné, I actually got dropped, and I had given up, and he actually waited for me and said, "Listen, Daryl, we got to come on, you can win this thing." And I was like, "No, I'm having a bad day, I'm off." So he waited for me, and then I just because he waited for me, I got a bit pissed off, and I was like, oh, "Okay, man, I'll just sit your wheel, let's go." And then got back in the group, and then I went up to the front to help Edmo, and then just saw him going backwards. I thought, oh, gee, I'm the only guy here, and I ended up winning the stage in the Dauphiné. It was just, but if Carlos wasn't there, just to kind of give me that encouragement, he kind of just sat up and went, all right, no, my job is to help Impey this day. But that's just kind of person he was. So, person he is. He's, so I think
That's cool.
maybe some riders have also been teammates with him as well. He's changed teams quite a bit. He was in Movistar. He was with us for a few years, Quick Step. So he's been on a couple big teams. So when you're on a few big teams, you really know more than half the peloton, So yeah, I think they've all worked with him, and
That's
great
cool.
guy to see win yesterday.
Yeah, that was cool to see. Mads put out also a really heartfelt message about it. It was really cool. So let's talk about another former teammate of yours, Simon Yates, who's been under the radar, and he's now in second. Visma, Lisa Bike, they have a proven formula of winning Grand Tours. He's looking really good. What do you think? Is he the main challenger, do you think, to Ayuso and Del Toro at this point?
Well, I think statistically it can be one of the main challenges for sure. He nearly won the Giro a few years ago. No doubt he's going to get revenge on Col de Finestre because that's where he lost the Giro to Chris Froome that year. He was in pink jersey that year. So, whether or not he's going to overcome the mental block or the mental hit he had there, that's yet to be seen. Maybe he takes the pink jersey on that day, which would be nice to him because that's exactly where he lost it one day to go. Probably seeking a bit of revenge. He's looking really good. Saw him at the airport actually before the Giro started, and you know certain riders when you've been teammates with them and how they look and their attitude and how skinny they are and the way they talk with some confidence. And even Sam and I both said at the airport, we're like, Yates is looking good, eh? This was without him even stepping on a bike. You could just tell. Oh, I think he's going to be a problem here. Yeah, the next question is what kind of team does he have in the mountains? Is he a team? Does he have a team that's actually going to be able to create damage on the mountains? Less likely, but there's plenty other teams that are still looking for those opportunities to make it hard. And he's a smart bike rider and a very all-round bike rider. Can descend well, climb well. He's got a good sprint on him in the end. So if it comes down to sprinting for some Red Bull bonus seconds, which is a new thing they've added to the Giro this year, it's 6 4 2 seconds for first, second, and third. Maybe start looking at those opportunities along the way. But yeah, he's definitely just staying quiet, eighth wheel all day, just sitting back there, relaxing, and then capitalizing on all these little bit of misfortune that the other riders have had. He's been on the good side of it, as have we. We had a bit of a wobbly the first day, but that wasn't due to bad luck. It was more to just having a bit of an off day. And Derek's also been on the good side of things. But like we said, we've also our team has. We've been pushing everyone every day, We've been pushing to make these selections, pushing to make the finals in the front, pushing to have Derek in good position. And then ultimately it does work out sometimes. So it's not only luck, but I mean every team has the same brief for the same kind of pinch points, but it's the teams that get it right. And it's always the same riders who make it through, right? It's always the quality riders that manage to miss these things or find a way through. So
Yeah. It's looking at the top five. We have Yates, who's a minute 20 down, which is in second place. Ayuso, minute 26, so almost the same time as Simon Yates. Carapaz could be danger at 2:07. I mean, he normally comes alive in the third week of a Grand Tour. What do you think? He's a pretty, I would say, close to sure bet for a podium. I would imagine coming into this final week based on history and also winning this race. What do you think about him? That stage he won was impressive. That nobody could chase him down. He was burying himself and was what a way to win. To ride away from the best guys.
And it will suit him better as we get higher and higher. I mean, you remember he trains at 2.5 3,000 meters above sea level. Once the road starts tipping upwards and going into those higher mountains, these guys find an extra gear. Whether or not they feel a bit more comfortable, they're used to it more, or whatever it is, it definitely favors them. Obviously, Carapaz is super light, it's super explosive, and he's won the Giro. Now, the question comes in is, does he race for podium, which is probably potentially good, or is he going to just empty it and go for the win? Some of these riders say second or third means nothing. For us, a second or third or podium would be amazing. We're not at that level to say we're going for the Giro win yet. It's possible. It's not out of the thing, but there's some. So I don't know. I really don't know. But I think Carapaz is a huge threat. Nobody is sleeping well knowing Carapaz is still up there. Roglic, we have to see if he turns it around this week. Tiberi is also someone who missed a split yesterday in the race. But maybe it was just a positional thing. Bahrain had to end up chasing for quite a fair while. But also it was before the time trial, before his crash, was looking super strong. So there's a lot of guys still in this mix. That top 10, by the end of this Giro, it's not going to be 20 seconds, 30 seconds. It's going to be 2, 3, 4 minutes between some guys. Right now it's still very close.
Yeah, we have Derek. He's 2 minutes 54 back. He's in fifth. Caruso only 1 second behind, so there's a danger there to be his teammate. He's been, I think, top three in the Giro one
Second.
time. Second,
Yeah,
yeah, I
Caruso was
remember.
second. He's very experienced. He's also just very solid. He's also kind of one of those guys that misses a lot of the crashes. Very knows where to sit in the peloton. Descends really well. Yeah, the two Bahrain guys behind us are right on are kind of breathing down our necks. But then we're like equally we're breathing down everybody else's neck. From fifth down to third place, say for example. So the dynamic's going to be interesting between Ayuso and Del Toro because I can guarantee you Ayuso hasn't come here to come third or second.
Yeah,
So
that's going to be.
what's going to happen there? Is he going to move and Del Toro is going to follow, or does Del Toro just sit back and watch the Giro that he can potentially win go up the road?
Well,
I'm not
it
so sure.
wouldn't. It wouldn't look good if Ayuso's attacking Del Toro, right? That wouldn't look good.
But I don't think at this stage it matters what looks good. At the end of the day, you want to put that pink jersey on, right? If you've come in as a leader, I can guarantee you ain't coming here going, okay, well, so and so's come here, he rode well in the gravel stage, you got a minute on me. I kind of had a bit of bad luck. I'm going to sit back now and just be a domestique for him in the mountains. I don't think so. I can't
But
see
what
that
if
happening.
what happens there? Does if Del Toro can follow, like does the team say you can follow, if try follow, or you have to let him right away? Like, what happens in that situation?
I think there's going to be a day in this week where they're going to go, okay, kids, just ride your bikes and race the race, and let's see whoever's going to win this thing. That's what I kind of feel. I kind of feel that they're going to get to a point where it's going to be, okay, we've obliterated the field. There's a few guys left. I'm going to act like I'm going for the stage. Like if nobody, if say Ayuso attacks and nobody can follow, and Del Toro moves and everyone's on his wheel and he doesn't have the legs to just jump across on his own, what's he going to do? Just keep riding? Potentially, I'm not so sure.
And if he's the only one who can follow, and does he just sit on Ayuso's wheel all the way to the finish, or that's also going to be funny
Well,
to see how that
I mean,
plays out.
that scenario would be a dream scenario. I guess he would just give him the stage and go, you couldn't drop me, but you can have the stage. But
Yeah.
yeah, we don't know yet. But look, there's going to be guys, Bernal, or like even Bernal, he's a champion. He's not going to ride for fourth place.
Do you think Ineos are doing too much? You were saying they were using a lot of energy. What are your thoughts there? They seem to be
No, I
highly
don't.
aggressive in this race.
No, I don't. Look, everyone's got their tactic, right? Ineos have definitely shaken up the race, and I do believe that. Yesterday Roglic was a little bit under the pump, a little bit hurt, a little bit. So maybe they're using that to expose him. Let's try to get rid of one extra guy. Look, for example, like yesterday in the stage, they chose some really good areas yesterday to spice the race up to create a bit of damage, and they did. There was a lot of things happening yesterday. It was unfortunate for us because Marco was in the breakaway, but then equally fortunate enough that Marco still stayed away, and that group jumped across to him. But what it did open when say Roglic was in difficulty was we had a guy up the road. We had Marco up the road, and we actually stopped him. The stage when it had gone, Carlos had attacked, and he was going to win the stage. So we actually stopped Marco on top of one of the last little climbs and said, "Listen, just wait for Derek's group. Roglic is off." And help UAE pull so that we can try and open the gap. At that point, Ineos only had two guys, Arensman and Bernal, so we kind of knew without them having teammates, they're not going to ride. And UAE was just like, well, we got who we need here, but we're thinking of, yeah, we obviously thinking of trying to advance ourselves up. Where they had it all under control. So yeah, Ineos put a great race in yesterday. They've done a lot of. They've done a lot of moves in this race. Whether or not, they also experienced team playing the long game. Maybe they just trying to soften everyone up a little bit or not hand it to UAE. So kudos to them. They're putting on a good performance. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
but
how the
now
peloton reacts to it all, and then what happens after that.
Looks
That's
like
we haven't
he's
seen that yet. What happens
yeah.
after that? We're just seeing a lot of control now from UAE because they've got such depth. But when they don't have that depth, then we'll see a bike race unfold, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, I was looking now at the profile. Look, four big mountains. You could even say five because the one goes up in two parts, and 4,900 meters total elevation. That's huge. That's a huge day. I mean, you haven't had a stage like that yet, in the Giro.
No, I mean, if it, like, let's talk about this last week. So we got stage 16, we got 4,600 meters. Then we got stage 17, 3,700 meters. Then we got stage 18, which is going to be probably a sprint day. But by this stage, the sprint teams are so tired. Look, I can't see an opportunity going away, but if the race gets out of control, sometimes the sprint teams can't even bring it back. So potentially a sprint day. 1,700 meters of climbing. Then we got stage 19, 5,000 meters of climbing. Doesn't finish on an uphill, finishes just after the uphill, like on a downhill. Then we got into Sestriere onto stage 20, which is another 4,300 meters of climbing. And then that's the next day is such a ball ache, if I can say that, because we got to fly everybody the last stage down to Rome as well. So it's such a mega day. Like the Giro's just been nuts this year with transfers, and yeah, man, you got to feel for the staff as well. Yeah, like just driving trucks and like we do a stage. I do 5 hours in the car driving. It's an hour and a half to the start, 5 hours in the car, then an hour and a half to the hotel. Like, geez, man, by the time you've done like 7, 8 hours of driving in the car every day, you know, like
And then, what are you? I mean, the mechanics and the masseurs. Well, what time are they working until the often? Do they skipping
no, ten
dinner even?
o'clock, nine
10,
thirty, 10. I
Yeah.
mean, we kind of yeah we got three directors here, so we're sharing a lot of the load. Like the logistics is between Pat Nine and um, Sam does a bit like most of the race strategy stuff, and then we kind of have a meeting every night about what we want to do the next day. Send out the performance plan that we're going to try and achieve the next day, and then yeah, so everybody gets to dinner like hoppers 9:10. Riders are obviously earlier; they're 8:30 or so. They're already having dinner, but yeah, the staff's working around the clock. Then it's the morning, the guys are preparing the bottles and the bidons and the everything else, and then driving to feed zones and points, and yeah, the show goes on. But today's was a great rest day. I think I had to zone out a bit. I just actually found a nice mountain around the corner here, and I just decided to go for a hike. I just had to go and clear my mind. Pat came with me. Um, Riders were asking, "Is there anyone who's going to follow it?" I was just like, "There's no one following today. Like, we need a break. You need a break. It's week two." So kind of, and they also like that, They were like, "Oh, it's actually nice just to ride and not have like car behind and like feel like still in the race." They kind of went out, did their thing, did some efforts. So we all a bit recharged now. We had a good barbecue, a bra for the South Africans last night with the staff. So that was really cool. Like it's also got to remember everybody here is stuck. Just needs a little bit of time to like, okay, we're not.
Yeah, I can tell for sure you're a little tired, a little worn out, but no doubt. I mean, that third week now, definitely need a day just to decompress a bit.
We've got a
So
big week coming up, man. We've got
yeah,
the biggest week coming up ever. We've got to make so many big decisions this week in terms of like strategy and riders to watch and scenarios that are going to play out and the day to day, what could go wrong, what could go right. You know, yeah, it doesn't stop.
awesome. Well, I know you have limited time. You obviously got to prepare for tomorrow. So what can we look forward to? Any master plan that you maybe want to share, maybe you don't, with getting Derek G on the podium?
No, I think Derek G will get on his podium without it doesn't I don't think it's just a case by case basis, right? We have to first take every day as it comes, like as we've done the whole Giro. It's just okay, chip away. Tomorrow's a big test. So yeah, I think after tomorrow we'll have more of a strategy in terms of like, okay, what are we aiming for? But tomorrow is probably the first day we're going to see some cracks, some riders proving to be better than others. Tomorrow we're going to see some bike racing, I think. I don't think, of course, UAE is going to be super strong, but I see a lot of challenge coming their way in terms of teams going, okay, maybe we can't win this thing, but yeah, definitely not going to have four in the top 10. Let's They can take it to them. So it will be an exciting week. But yeah, on our bigger scheme of things with Derek, we're just looking after him. We're keeping this team really solid. The guys been riding really well. Days we've said we need to go in the breakaway. They've been in the breakaway. So we can't expect anything more. We're kind of riding our own wave of success at the moment. We're taking our small little things along the way, and we'll see when we get to Rome where we're at. But Derek is just waiting to race, which is great. So
Is he feeling good, eh? What's
he's
he
been
doing?
calm. He's
Yeah.
really got the makings of a proper GC rider. He understands the long game. He gets it. He's focused. He's great with his teammates. He's great on the radio. And of course, what the riders are seeing, what the team's seeing from him, all his teammates, they starting to believe we haven't reached our full potential yet. So, which is great, all the staff's buzzing and it's exciting. So we'll see how we go.
Awesome. What does a guy like Derek do on a day like this? I know tomorrow being such a critical day, he needs to ride a bit harder. Is he doing a few little efforts just to keep the engine primed, or what is he doing?
Yeah, he did his efforts. Of course, like wanted to get a bit of a decent sweat, probably overdressed a fair bit. Make sure that the body's still a little bit stressed today, that we're not just like, you know, coming to tomorrow 2-3 kilos up because of water retention, things like that. So probably eat a little bit lighter today. It's really basic in the end of the day. You got to make sure you get out, you do something, you got to work that body, you got to keep that heart rate going. In a week's time we can sit and have coffee rides and everything else. But tomorrow, with it being such an important day, it's definitely not a day. If you get today wrong, you'll pay for it tomorrow.
Well, we hope he has super legs tomorrow. I know tomorrow when we look at the GC standings, it could be completely different to what we see right now. The race could be completely turned on its head. So it's going to be an exciting day for us armchair viewers. I know it's going to be a busy one for you. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up, Daryl?
No, I think it's some more interaction. We need some interaction from the listeners here. We need some questions coming our way. If you've got questions to ask, put them down here that we can address them in the next podcast. And it will be probably at the end of the Giro, I'm assuming. If it's not the end of the Giro, if we're in pink on Saturday night, maybe we can do on Saturday night, but probably not. I'll have too many wines by then. But
Yeah.
I think that's probably the biggest thing is we'd love to chat on the show about things that other people want to talk about. We can talk about how the race is going, but I'm sure there's some fans out there that are listening to this that actually want to ask some questions we haven't even thought about. So
definitely. And also, we're thinking of doing some other type of podcasts, maybe a bit on the training side and some interviews with some riders. Daryl knows a lot of people in the pro peloton. So let us know your questions, comments. Please share the podcast, rate us. If you're enjoying it, give us a 5-star rating. Reminder, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. So I think we'll wrap it up, Daryl. I know you got a busy day ahead of you tomorrow, so we really appreciate you taking the time to share some of the insights into what's happening with your team in the final week. Anything else you want to say before you wrap it up?
all good.
Cool. All right, guys, thanks for joining. Hope you all enjoy this final week of the Giro. I know it's going to be pretty epic. We'll see you. Ciao.
Cheers.